Welcome to another edition of the Hoop Scoop. I'm Jarret Johnson. I'm joined by the mighty Joe Yeager. Now, mighty Joe, football season's kicked off, and we're in it. And we're all about it. But, boy, there's always, the Texas basketball program has gotten to a point where the Tech fans are still clamoring for some hoops coverage, and they want us to talk about some hoops. So, hey, while we're here together, I thought let's do it. Let's talk some Red Raider hoops, and there's a lot to be excited about. A lot of new things going on, and the roster, the construction of the roster this offseason has been really fascinating, in my opinion, especially with the new coaching staff and everything. And it's going to look very different. And you did that ranking the Red Raiders story, which I thought, you and I normally agree on a lot of stuff, and I thought you put some interesting selections, I guess, however you want to look at it. In the top 5 to 6 spot, for me, I was like, you got my attention. I didn't know if you were just trying to troll some of us or what, but or if you really believe that. So I wanted to, give you this opportunity to explain to fans your ranking and talk about the roster.
Yeah, there were some controversial picks in there. No question about it. And part of that is this ranking was done not so much in terms of sort of like the overall best in terms of everything that a player contributes to the team and so forth. It was focused more on just like pure basketball skill. That's basically what I was looking at. And so that kind of changes things up a little bit. Now, take for instance like a Marcus Santos Silva, who is a returning starter off an NCAA tournament team that won a game, a good player by all respects. Okay, but I've got him like down number 9. Okay,
I think you're probably right there.
Now that's pretty dark. I mean, people are going to look at that. I imagine if Marcus himself saw that, I may have to look out for him.
He's a big dude.
He's a big dude. So, but the deal is, I mean, that's just like I said earlier, just in terms of just pure athletic and basketball skill. I mean, if you look at it like that, then it doesn't seem so crazy. But obviously, he brings so much more to the team than just that, with the intangibles, with the leadership, with the toughness, with all that stuff that just makes the team better in so many different ways. So, that's kind of what's going on there.
So I'll tell you where I disagree, or my biggest, not gripe, because I like it. I like that you did, I don't know, controversial, but, like you said, interesting picks. Kevin McCullough at 5.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to disagree with that, for his all-around game. Now, if you preface it the way you did, I guess, but for me, that's hard to agree with, him being 5th. And then Shannon being 3rd, too, was kind of like, but I honestly, when you look at Bryson Williams, when you look at Kevin O'Banner, I mean, to me, I feel like you can make a better argument for Shannon being 3rd than for McCullough being 5th after Davion Warren.
Yeah.
Although, we're talking about a 20-point scorer at the Division I level. So, I mean, I get where you're coming from. And then ultimately, I guess my takeaway, my Joe, is, damn, they're pretty stacked.
Yes.
If we could even have this argument.
Yeah, that's right. I think with McCullough, the only sort of the drawback to his game, it's a modest drawback, I suppose. But his overall shooting percentages.
He's not a shot maker that you'd like him to be, right?
Yeah,
he's
that's
not the shot maker you like him to be.
42% from the floor. I think he's maybe 32, 33 from 3. Decent free throw shooter, but not a great one.
Right.
It's one of those deals where if he can bump up those statistics, like 3 or 4 percentage points, suddenly, then he goes from a guy who's like, I'm saying number 5 to a guy who's potentially number 1. And he's a guy who could be a first team all Big 12 type of player because he's got so much to his game that you love. I mean, he's such a good defensive player, solid rebounder for a guy his size, and then he's got all the intangible stuff as well.
As an on-the-ball defender, there were times I wasn't all that impressed with him last year. He got beat by some guys where it seemed like he was even better in that respect the year before. Maybe some of the bulk didn't help him or something. Right. I don't know. But I'm a huge Kevin McCullough fan. I mean, like I said, but he needs to be a better shot maker. He does. I agree with that. And defensively, there's room for improvement, especially, like I said, on the ball. He wasn't, some of those quicker guards gave him fits last year.
Yeah, and when you're a 6'6" guy playing at the guard position in the Big 12, boy, it's tough to stay in front of those guys, and that's where all this help side defense and Beard himself used to say it all the time.
Who?
He used to say that listen, with these really great guards, you're just not going to guard them one-on-one.
Yeah.
So you've got to help out, and it's team defense against these guys. And so, you're going to expect somebody like particularly a bigger guard like that is going to get beat a little bit off the dribble sometimes. But yeah, it's always something you can improve. I think that he is also slowly improving as a floor player as well. I mean, he's early in his career. I mean, he had a major turnover problem, but he's cleaning that up. He's getting better and better. We kind of thought he was going to be a point guard type of guy coming out of high school, and he's not there yet. But he's kind of moving in that direction, so I think that bodes well for him.
Well, let's talk about the guys you did have atop the list, Kevin O'Banner and Bryson Williams. What do you like about them? What do they bring?
Yeah, and I think that's something that surprises people a little bit as well, because I have Williams at the top.
You did?
And
Wow, I couldn't remember.
Second.
Yeah, it does surprise me.
Yeah, and so a lot of people were like, oh, where'd you come up with that? And the deal is, I think that Williams is the more dynamic sort of a player. He is a guy, yes, I believe, because he's a little bit more athletic, and I think he's better he can put the ball on the deck and get to where he wants to go. I think O'Banner he's a better rebounder. I mean, it's a 10 board a guy type of a guy, or a game type of a guy.
Sure.
But for the most part, he's a spot up shooter. He's a deadly shooter. I mean, this is. If McCullough wants to emulate somebody in the shooting category, man, take some cues from O'Banner, because he can stroke it from anywhere on the court and at the free throw line as well.
Both of them are efficient shooters, and Williams has gotten better from behind the three-point line.
Yes, that's right. And I'll tell you something else I love about Williams so much is a couple of things. Number one, plays so hard. I mean, possession after possession after possession, nobody's going to outwork that guy.
Yeah.
And so when you put him and Marcus Santos Silva and Kevin McCullough on the floor, you got three guys who are going to lay it on the line all the time. And I love that. And he's a really, really tough
Shannon, too. All those charges he draws and running the court.
True.
Some hard-playing dudes.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that part of the team is not going to change. There's still going to be a very a team that has effort.
Adonis Arms is a guy, I think,
I love Adonis Arms. I think I had him, number 6 maybe, or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
6 or 7. I think he's going to be a huge defensive player. I mean, one of the people talk about Peavy, and it wasn't much of a loss, really, so forth and so on. But I liked Peavy. One of the things I loved the most about him, because I thought he was developing to potentially Tech's most disruptive perimeter defensive player.
Wow.
With that 6'7" length, and I think he caused problems for people out there. Yeah. And I think Arms is going to fill that sort of a role. And so that's something I love about him right off the bat, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he does as a perimeter defender, because we all know, man, I mean, there's not a whole lot that's more important right now in college basketball than being able to play perimeter defense.
Yeah, and then let's going back, I don't want to end this without talking about both Williams and O'Banner. What I like about those guys is, and this is almost like classic 90s NBA basketball, where you could throw the ball into Williams in the low post or the mid post, or O'Banner in the mid post, and get you a bucket. I mean, they could get, if you wanted to feature them, if you didn't have all this other talent around, that you're going to need shots and everything, I mean, you could get 20 a night from those guys in college, in any conference, by just throwing the ball into them. And O'Banner in the mid post, I knew he is next level in the screen and roll game, the high screen and roll game, the pick and pop, pick and roll. I mean, he's about as good as you're going to see in the country next year. But when I started watching some of his tape of him go to work in the mid post in the tournament, that's when I was like, man, they really have something in this dude. And we know Williams is kind of like a classic, back to the basket kind of dude where you could throw it down the low post, and that's exciting to me, because there's comes a time where you need a bucket. You need guys, and now it's more the create with the guard. But hey, man, if you could do it any way. If you have a 6'8" guy that you could throw to the mid post who's skilled like that, who's efficient, like both these guys are in terms of shooting percentage and not turning the ball over and all that, heck, that's just as good as one of those quick guards running around.
Yeah, and I think this team is going to have many more offensive options than last year's team did.
Oh, yeah.
O'Banner and Williams we talked about. Okay. But listen, Davion Warren, he's a guy. Terrence Shannon can get you a bucket, right? He's a borderline NBA type of a guy.
Yeah.
And somebody else is Malik Wilson.
Yeah.
Who I think can really do some things, and not just score, but I think he can set up a lot of these other people.
He's a good
as well.
defender too.
Yes, he is.
And then you got Sardar Calhoun. I mean, that guy's really talented. I mean, he's big time talent.
Yeah, talk about your specimen. I mean, him and Kalen Allen, KJ Allen.
Oh yeah, I didn't even mention KJ Allen. Jeez,
specimens. I mean, those are two guys. I mean, just in terms of like the body type and the athleticism. Those are the two guys who may be closest to the NBA types that you have on the roster, along with Terrence Shannon. You know, I mean, so and those are guys on down my list. You know, is where they're going to fall in the lineup there. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff.
So, just with your process, I want to ask you a question here. Did you, before you started writing, did you already have the list, like have your list, or did you go, okay, you know, this is 15 and then okay, this is 14, or did you lay out the list knowing who was in what spot before you started writing the first story?
Yeah, I definitely had everybody ranked before I started writing, but I'm pretty sure at some point during the process I switched it up a little bit. Like, the more I think about this, this guy should go here and this guy should leapfrog and so forth. So there may have been one or two situations like that. But basically, had it all ranked out before I started writing.
Well, it sure was a fun series. I know a bunch of Red Raider fans out there really enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading it too. And just so y'all know, I didn't have any. That's an Almighty Joe special. I was just like y'all, waiting to see who was next. And my eyes got this big when I saw color at number 5. I was like, wow, you know. This is getting interesting, but great stuff, man. Great stuff from you as always.
Thanks.
Thank y'all for listening, and until next time.